Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome to another StarCraft 2 video. Now what I got for you today is a game that I am playing at the exact same time, and so I'm also giving commentary to it. Now, I said GLHF to my opponent and apparently he says GLHF OP race. I'll give him a smiley face. I don't know if he's already balanced complaining or what is going on, but regardless, I'm gonna try my very best and explain to you what I am doing while playing this game at the exact same time. So this is going to be a Zerg versus Terran. It's one of the matchups where I personally actually feel rather confident, but the thing is that oftentimes, I hope you know what he says, oftentimes mistakes can be made in, you know, basically just a split second, and then usually the game can end very quickly as well. So it all comes down to me not messing up in the earlier stages of the game, just because I plan on playing a really passive game. For the most part, in the Zerg versus Terran matchup, it is the Zerg's task to try and get as many workers out as possible without losing them, right? And obviously there's a wide variety of aggressions that Terran players can try and throw at you, and usually they will try and slow down your eco, and you gotta try and prevent that from happening. What does he say? Only Zerg versus Zerg in tournament, boring. I want to see Terrans and Tuss. But only Swarm, oh my god, only Swarm A-click. Mr. Zordiak is not having a great day. I've got a feeling that this man just lost a lot of ladder points to Zerg players in the recent couple of days. I'll just give him another smiley face. There you go. I gave him 2 smiley faces. Don't forget to smile, Mr. Zordiak. Now, by the way, I'm currently playing on my barcode account, as you may have noticed. This is indeed going to be a ranked match. I'm currently right around, I think like rank 400 or so in Europe. Maybe a little bit, like maybe 500. I'm not entirely sure. But regardless, it does mean that this is going to be a rather high-level match. And for those of you curious, yes, people most definitely still balance complain as well. At this level of play as well. Looks like there is indeed going to be a reactor follow-up. My opponent already sent that SCV towards the 3rd base location. Nicely done by him. I'm actually going to be expanding towards the other 3rd then, if I can. Usually a pretty nice thing to do. Try and get this base up and running. Looks like I will be able to do so. This is a bit of a trickier 3rd to defend, but he had the SCV on idle in the other base, and I don't really want to deal with it. Queen is just about to come out. There you go. Queen should get the snipe. Gonna inject in a main, put down a tumor over here. 3rd base is already coming up. Should be relatively safe. He's actually going for some SCVs. Or for some Marines right now, rather. While producing SCVs. Gotta be a little careful. He thinks that I don't have a 3rd up yet, which is the reason why he's making those Marines. Should be able to get that one to safety. It's very uncommon actually for players to take the other 3rd. I haven't tried this out myself yet. There we go. That Overlord should be relatively safe. Now what we saw is that my opponent went for that reactor and the tech lab or reactor and the factory already. Usually that means they're going to be going for Hellions, of course. I'll make this as my 4th, by the way. Can he see that? This is one of the new maps. I don't think he could. I guess he might just barely be able to see that high ground there. A little unfortunate, but it would have gone down anyway as soon as that, the Vikings started roaming the map. This is more than likely going to be a 1-1-1 based build. I'm just going to double check with one Zergling to see if there's anything else going on that site. I'm also going to go ahead and get myself a 2nd gas going. We'll saturate the gas in the main once again. And I want to start up the lair as well as a baling nest in just a bit. Starting up a small group of links here too. So what I'm a little bit worried for is that my opponent might potentially be playing double factory. It's not as easy to counter if you don't have a roach worn out, and I don't plan on making a roach worn. Instead I put down a baling nest. Let's go ahead and put the tumor over there in the main base too. And I really want to try and squeeze out a lot of workers at this point in the game. He still doesn't know about the fact that I've got a pretty solid economy already at the 3rd base location. He's probably gonna poke in just to see what's going on. Well, he's not paying attention right now. Should we try? It's a little greedy. Lost a few links there. Not always worth it. Sometimes it is, and sometimes you can pick those units up for practically free. Not this time though. All right. Since I don't really know exactly what it is I'm going up against, I'm just playing this super safe. Remember, right? I know that I'm gonna be really strong once my economy gets built up. At this point, I still have to be a little bit careful. Looks like there's a push coming up right now. Gonna end up taking a loss on one of those queens, it looks like. Banelings are just about to finish. Pretty interesting little push here from my opponent, though. And it looks like we will be able to deflect this. But that was a lot of units that he just spent there to try and finish this one up. If I could pick up the meta... Oh, yeah, that's great. Alright, that's actually really nice. So, basically what just happened, right? That fight didn't look like it went incredible for me. Actually, I shouldn't take these gases yet. That fight didn't look like it went incredible for me, but I think it really did go well, because I didn't lose a lot of workers, and I killed his entire army. Basically, when Terrans go for a push like that, they delay their own third base for a while, just to try and get that engagement going. And the engagement basically is trying to just simply slow down the Zerg's economy, right? And he did kill a couple of units there. Obviously, I lost a bunch of Banes and all that, but all things considered, the micro there, while it was a little bit slippy here and there, right? Just a little bit risky. I think it did go pretty good. Let's go for a macro hatchery in the main base. Just because I know there's a Banshee out, I don't really, you know, I don't really want to be caught with my pens down. Already have an Overseer here. And looks like this one will also be shut down for practically free. Very good. That allows me now to transition towards more gases. I want to keep an eye out on the map just to see if there's a third base already for him. It's kind of funny because he started this himself. He got confused by my build. Because he delayed my third on one side and then he never checked the other side until much later. Which kind of sounds funny because it's, you know, it's it's him who ended up doing that. But he got confused by me taking the fourth as the third base instead. Or at the very least, that's what I think happened there. That's why I decided to go for such an aggressive push. Still no third base. It's only just now landing. That's really good for me. I'm gonna go ahead and send some links over in that direction, so maybe we can roll some Banes forward. I do need to saturate that one. I'm at 80 plus workers right now, which is really good. I'm gonna go ahead and set some gases over there too. The only thing I don't really like is the fact that I've got such late Evo Chamber upgrades. He's gonna definitely be ahead in that regard. And that could come into play in just a bit. Making some Hydralisk now too, and I'm really starting to make a lot of units because I've got a really solid economy here already. Bane speed will be done. I hope. Let's see. Yep, it is finished. But since I didn't really lose any eco, we're in a phenomenal position to just continue making a lot of units here. I could even transition towards a hive, which I think is pretty good to do. Let's roll the Banes forward, see if we can do any damage. Big push now coming up though for my opponent. See if we can do any damage here. Nothing too critical, but... Okay, going for some extra queens. I don't know if he's still out here. Yeah, he is. You're welcome onto my creep, sir. I'm gonna run some Zerglings and whatnot around. This map is a little tricky for doing so, but this seems to be a pretty slow engagement for my opponent. Trying to run some units over here. Once you knock down the rocks, these kind of setups are much easier. He knows that, yeah, he knows that I'm setting it up. Look at the minimap. I've got units everywhere. He's just unsieged the tanks. Realizing that he was just about to get caught in a pincer attack. Roll forth the Banes! Woo! Nice. Okay, that was really good. So, I got that massive economy. Did not get it slowed down whatsoever. And right now we can start swarming the map. I just picked up a lot of his units. Whenever I'm using Banes, I like to make new ones as well. So that's exactly what we're doing right now. And with just a couple of pretty straightforward moves, we seem to be going into a really nice direction. It all came down from that early game economy that we got though here. My opponent says skilled. Thank you. I've got a feeling that comment wasn't particularly genuine, but I think it all came down from that engagement that we had a little bit earlier on into the game. Alrighty, so here we are in the replay. Now my opponent, by the way, was messaging me after this game as well just now. He was getting a little bit upset. Hope he realizes. I mean, there must be someone out there, right, that's watching this video that knows Zordiark. He's making a bit of a fool out of himself in front of quite a few people. Anyways, that's alright, Mr. Zordiark. I know the salt, my man. Let me try and explain to you why my opponent had a little bit too much salt in his system after this game wrapped up. So this is a game that was essentially mostly decided by the worker count. It sounds a little bit silly to say, and this is one of the things that I didn't really grasp when I first started playing StarCraft. But StarCraft is very much so a game of economy. So what I'm trying to focus on right now in the early game is getting a ton of workers without dying. So I go for a really quick third base. I go for a lot of drones here right from the get-go. And when my opponent pushes across the map with a bunch of Hellbats and then obviously the Medivacs as well out of that starport and then the 1-1-1 style, right? There's such a big variety. Could have been more Medivacs, it could have been some Cyclones, it could have been Widow Mines, it could have been more Marines. There's a wide variety of builds you could go for, but I can basically clean them all up in a similar way. Right when this happens, right over here, right? I start up 3 spores just because I don't really know what it is I'm going up against. I also have still 3 workers here coming up. In total, I'm still ahead economically speaking. So not only am I up a base, I'm sitting at like 46 workers by the time that these drones finish up. I just started up some spores. So say I'm sitting at about 50 workers, when my opponent is sitting at, say, 40 or so at the very most. You know, kind of depending on how well we both play, right? So I basically go for a really quick third base. I spend a lot of my early game resources on getting a lot of workers out. And this is how the engagement goes. I lose 1 queen for practically free. I'm a little bit late here on the Baneling Morphin as well. But we clean it up, and that's the important part. We clean this up with the reinforcements as well as the queens with minimal losses, right? In total, 2 workers die and I kill his entire army. Now, while this is going on, yeah, he likely caught up in economy. So right now he's sitting at 46 versus 42 rather, but he only just now started up a command center. And at this point in the game, there's 2 options that Zerg has. Either I go for an all-out counterattack and I try to win the game right here and, you know, right now, which, you know, may have been a legit option as well. Or, and this is usually the correct call, you capitalize on the advantage you get by making more economy and more tech. So that's exactly what I decide to do. Rather than take the risk and knowing, you know, that there's a chance my opponent could just wall off and I have to deal with Hellbats and Banshees and all that, knowing that there is a good chance he can still defend an all-in, I decide to take the more secure route of just simply making a lot of workers and droning up to, I think, straight up 80, which may have been a little bit excessive here. I usually think that stopping at like 70, 75 is a little bit safer. But I just take a 4th base, I start getting upgrades, I start teching up to Hydra, I get a macro hatchery here as well. I just simply get workers for the rest of the game. And right when I arrive at the economy that I want, so right here I'm sitting at 79 drones, that's when I go back into full-on unit production. So basically the entirety of the game, this point included, I've been ahead economically speaking. And sure, I mean, resource-wise, I lost more than my opponent, right? Look, I lost, you know, about a third more compared to my opponent, I guess. I've been mining more the entirety of the game, so I may be trading cost inefficiently, but we are mining substantially more. So I do kill a couple of workers there as well. Well, only 3, it's not that exciting. It's actually more than he killed with his entire push, so there's that, but... and then there's this engagement here near the end. I don't really know if we needed to go for a super fancy surround. It looked really cool. It's pretty nice, actually. My opponent, if we go to his vision here for a second, right? He must have realized, either by seeing the minimap, or by just simply looking at his army, that something was not quite right. Yeah, look at that. He sees on the minimap that my army is coming from that side, and he decides to unsiege the tanks, try to get in a better position. But right at that point, the Zerg comes from every single angle. And the last thing I guess he really wanted to do there was have those tanks unsieged. And that's where he's stuck in his choke. He can't really lift up because the Hydras are shooting away at the Medivacs already, and his army gets absolutely smashed. But in the end, well, the Hydraling Bane phase of the game was nice, right? I feel like this mostly all just comes down from the amount of workers that we got away with without really losing any kind of economy in the earlier stages of the game. So really, like, that's one of the key characteristics of, like, the top-of-the-line Terran players. They're extremely efficient with their aggression. They usually don't lose the units that they're, you know, pressuring with either. And then they're really trying their hardest to, you know, do a lot of economical damage or at the very least slow down the creep spread, right? With Terran, it's very unforgiving, and I kind of understand where my opponent is coming from. He's making the assumption that Zerg is much easier to play in these kind of scenarios. I feel like Zerg, once you get to the 80 worker count, is definitely pretty straightforward to play because you just make a lot of units and you push across the map. But getting to that 80 worker count is extremely difficult, and it's really the Terran's task to slow down that eco, or to try and play the matching eco game, and then you get to super late game scenarios. But a lot of Terran players don't want to do that either. So if you want to, if you want to go toe-to-toe with a Zerg, you got to try and slow them down. And my opponent did not successfully do that, so he's in a tough position. Yeah, so for those of you curious, because I know there's always a few of you that are interested in that, I had an APM of 316 in this particular game. So I did have actually a rather high amount of average unspent resources. I guess that's also due to the fact that I had 80 workers mining and, we were maxed out there for a little while. That amount goes up quite substantially. All things considered though, definitely happy with the way that this game went. I mean, you can really see it in the workers active count, right? This is kind of where that engagement happened. We were already at a really solid eco, and now we just push ahead straight to 80 workers, and my opponent never really managed to catch up. So resource collection wise, right? You can see mules, you can see sort of those spike ups where the mules land and where they start mining. But resource collection wise, even though we didn't trade super efficiently, we were mining more than my opponent, and that in the end is one of the most important things in the Zerg versus Terran matchup. Now, I hope that you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button down below, and if you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get a notification as soon as I upload more. Other than that, I want to thank you for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile or write, and I'll see you in the next one.